All right, so this is 7. It says the vertex is 4, -5, 1, 2, 3, 4, -5 would be down here. And then the focus is 4, -3, so 4, -3 is the focus. So that tells me that my parabola points up because it has to go around the focus. And if it points up, it's an x squared, and it has a positive 4p. So that I know just from plotting it. I said it yesterday, but I'll remind you that on the test, which Thursday, will the front side of the scrap paper, that's is so precarious. Please be careful there. On the back is graph paper. So you can use it if you want to find the exact distance. You can actually plot this on your graph paper because the next thing we're going to need to do is count for P. So I go from -5 to -3, which means P is 2. Okay. You can also do that without the visual, but I would say most people are visual enough to need to know to count it there. So then I have my 4, I have my P, and I have the direction, and I have my vertex, which is 4, -5. So this is my X, my H, and this is my K. And so it's X minus H squared equals 4PY minus K, and then I plug in all the information. So X minus the H is 4, that would be squared. 4 times P, we just said was 2, and it's positive because it points up. Y minus a -5 becomes Y plus 5. And I get X minus 4 squared equals 8, Y plus 5. Other questions, 7 or 8? Okay, so 9, now we switch to ellipses. And remember I said it yesterday, but they're not going to necessarily be in order tomorrow. So don't get fixated that it's going to be all parabolas and then all ellipses, not tomorrow, Thursday. All parabolas and then all ellipses and then all hyperbolas. It's going to be mixed.
Can you go back for just 1 second?
All right, 10 starts like this. This is an ellipse because there's a plus in between. It also said it in the instructions, but I know it because of the plus in between. And ellipses and hyperbolas have to be equal to 1. This has a 2, which means I'm dividing everything by 2. Because there's already a denominator there, it might be easier to multiply by a half because that's the same thing as dividing by 2. And so I'd get X minus 1 squared over 36 plus Y plus 4 squared over 16 equals 1. And now it's in standard form. The bigger denominator is the 36. That's my A squared. And because that's under the X, this is horizontal. The A is 6. The B squared is 16, making B 4. C squared equals A squared minus B squared for ellipses. So C squared would be 20. C is going to equal the square root of 20. If I were to graph that, that's a little bit bigger than 4, like a 4.2 maybe, 4.3. And then when I keep it exact, it's 2 square root 5. And I need that for my focus. I know the center is the opposite of follows X and the opposite of what follows Y. So 1, -4. And then I go to the graph. So 1, -4 is my center. It's horizontal, so I go right 6 and left 6. So I'd go to 7, -4, and I'd go to -5, -4. Those would be my vertices. I go up and down the B, which is 4, so up 4, and that's 1, 0, down 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, and that's -8. Nope, sorry, that's 1. -8, and those are the co-vertices. And then I can make my oval. And then the foci is my center, plus and minus, because it has to be horizontal. The 2 root 5 would go on the X. So I'm going right 1, 2, 3, 4.2, left 1, 2, 3, 4.2, and that would be the focus. Other questions from this page? So then it got into the equations of the ellipse, 11 and 12. All right, so 12 gives you the vertices at plus and minus 5, 0. So positive 5 and negative 5 tells me already that this is horizontal. My center would be halfway between those, which would be 0, 0. And my A is 5. All of that comes from the vertices. The foci are plus and minus 3, 0. And that means C is 3. Because it's horizontal, it's going to, well, either way, it would be x squared plus y squared equals 1 because my center is 0, 0. And because it's horizontal, I know the x squared gets the A, so it'd be 25. And even that, like if you had to leave the rest blank, you would already get partial credit just from that. Then you'd get c squared equals a squared minus b squared, so 3 squared would equal 5 squared minus b squared, 9, 25. Negative b squared would equal negative 16. B squared would equal 16. And that's what fills in the bottom. So you don't have to graph it. I don't need to know that b is 4. I can keep it as the b squared. Other questions on this one? Okay, then we got into hyperbolas. So the graphs of hyperbolas at the top and then the equations of the hyperbolas at the bottom. Questions on, let's start with 13 and 14. Any questions on those?
Did you go over 14?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so I know it's a hyperbola because of the minus in between, which means it has to equal 1, which means I have to get rid of the 2 in the denominator over here. So I'm going to multiply each of these by 2. 2 goes into 32 16 times, so I get y minus 2 squared over 16. Minus 2 goes into 50 25 times, x plus 1 squared over 25 would equal 1. Now it's in standard form. The y is first, so it's vertical. The center would be negative 1, 2, opposite of what follows x, opposite what follows y. The a squared is always first with hyperbolas, so a is 4. B squared is second, so b is 5. And then c squared equals a squared plus b squared for hyperbolas. So c is square root 41. And then because it's a hyperbola, you also need to know asymptotes. Asymptotes, as soon as I know it's vertical, I know it's a over b. Y equals k plus and minus a over b, x minus h. So the y equals k is 2, plus and minus a is 4, b is 5, x minus a negative 1 becomes plus 1. Then I go to the graph. My center is negative 1, 2. It's vertical, so I'm going up and down the A, which is 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, 2, 3, 4. And those are, hi.
I was looking for a hammerhead, sorry.
Those are the vertices, negative 1, 6, and negative 1, negative 2. I go to the right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the left, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and those are the co-vertices. I make the little box. I draw the corners. I make the asymptotes. And it's vertical, so the branches point up and down. The foci would be on that vertical axis up and down square root 41, which we would say is like a 6.5. So from my center, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.5. Those would be the foci. But to get the coordinate points, you need to keep them exact. So that's a change to the y coordinate of my center. I'm going to take that 2 and add and subtract square root 41. Sure. I don't know if he has passes. Yep. Oh, did you see it said change? Was that on the original one?
I think so.
Okay. I can't remember if that's on there. So do yours say 47?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay, so this starts non-standard form. I look, there's 2x, there's the x squared and a y squared, which means it's either an ellipse or a hyperbola. They are different signs, which tells me this is a hyperbola from the beginning. So I'm going to group together the 9x, the 54x, the 9x squared and 54x. And then I'm going to group together the negative y squared and the positive 10y. And then I'm going to bump the 47 to the other side, so this equals negative 47. Then complete the squares. So for the first one, I take out a 9, x squared plus 6x. For the second one, I take out a negative 1, y squared minus 10y. And be careful, that's a common mistake to forget to take the negative off the 10. Equals negative 47. Then fill these spaces. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. 3 squared is 9. I'm going to add the 9 inside the parentheses. I'd normally add the 9 here, but I have to multiply by 9 first. So I'm adding 81. Repeat that process with the 10. Take the 10, divide it by 2, it's 5. Square it, it's 25. I'm adding 25 in here. I would normally be adding it over here, but I have to multiply by a negative 1 this time. So I'm subtracting 25. So 47 and 25 would be 72. 81 minus 72 is 9. If you factor square root the 3x squared, square root the 9, take the sign from the 6x, minus square root the y squared, square root the 25, take the sign from the negative 10, put it in parentheses and squared. And then this has to equal 1. So I have to divide everything by 9. X plus 3 squared over 1. You don't need the over 1, but if you want it to remind you that the a squared is 1, that's fine. Minus y minus 5 squared over 9 equals 1. That's the standard form. And then we go from there. So the x is first, which means this is horizontal. The center is negative 3, 5, opposite of what follows x, opposite of what follows y. A squared is 1, making a 1. B squared is 9, making b 3. C squared would be a squared plus b squared. So c is square root 10. And the asymptote, because it's horizontal, is your b over a. Y equals k plus and minus b over a x minus h. So y equals, the k means the y does not change sign, it's 5. Plus and minus b over a, 3 over 1, x minus a negative 3 becomes plus 3. And then you just don't need the over 1. That's the equation of your asymptote. And then we go to the graph. So center is negative 3, 5. It's horizontal, so we go right and left A, which is 1. Up and down B, which is 3. And those are my vertices and covertices. So the vertices, negative 4, 5, and negative 2, 5. Covertices, negative 3, 8, negative 3, 2. Then comes the box. Then comes the asymptotes. Horizontal. So the branches point right and left. And then foci I would approximate to be like a 3.1. So I'd go right and left. 1, 2, 3, just bigger than 3. 1, 2.
How did you get the covertices?
The covertices are up and down 3. Again, there's an extra, 2 seconds, there's an extra practice on all the graphing and the equations. And then here's a couple examples. I think I have 3 of these. So if you want to write them down or take a picture, add them on to the extra review, please do that now. So this is one. I'm going to move it in a second. So either write it down or take a picture. Again, we're going to do it in class kick, but I think you're more comfortable in Notability. So, and I'm trusting you to be smart enough to know you need a review. So that's one.